Oh, it's another episode of Two in the Cooler. Thank you guys for watching and listening. If you want to support the show even further, you can actually do something that is going to benefit yourself, and that is to check out the merch at snackspot.se/creator/teespring.com. Link's going to be in this episode description, as well as in our Instagram bio at Two in the Cooler on there. The merch store, folks, you're going to love it. It is phenomenal. Okay, we're talking hoodies, obviously. T-shirts. We've got mugs like this Schemin' and Dreamin' mug. Oh, it's wonderful. Bucket hats, fanny packs. We've got slides now, perfect for the summer. They're like these really nice, very durable slides. They're actually super awesome. And the T-shirts, folks, I cannot stress this enough. I love to talk about the T-shirts because I am blown away by the quality. Because usually when you get a shirt or something from a podcast or a show, whatever that you like, they sell you that cheap as shit fucking brand. What's it called? Gildan or something? And it fits like a cardboard box. You can't even wear it. It shrinks in the wash. No, that's not what you're getting with us. With us, you are getting tri-blend material. That's 3 blends of materials. That's Target quality fabric, folks, and you can find that all at snackspot.se/creator/teespring.com merch, not just for this show, but also for our twin show, Schemin' and Dreamin', and also for the newest podcast that we produce right here, Quested. It's a Dungeons and Dragons podcast. Their stuff is up there right now, and it is awesome, so be sure to check all of that out. Like I said, the link is in the description of this very episode and in our Instagram bio. You can always, of course, check it out for yourself at snackspot.se/creator/teespring.com. You might be listening to this right now saying to yourself, why on earth would I want to celebrate America right now? I don't have an answer to that question. But I can tell you that it's fun to hang out with your pals still, and that is what the 4th of July is really about. So, if you need, things, different products, stuff from the store, burgers, dogs, whatever, what are you going to do? You're going to go to the grocery store? It's going to be packed. It's going to be terrible. People rushing out of there trying to get their hands on as many cases of Busch Light as possible. Forget that. Avoid all of it. Don't worry about it. Just use Instacart instead, because with Instacart, you can get not just groceries, but some of your favorite products from some of your favorite local stores delivered right to your front door in as little as 1 hour. Okay, let's say you do go to the store, and then all of a sudden this always happens. You get back and you realize, oh shit, I forgot that one last item. Oh my god, what are you gonna do? Turn around and go back? No, don't leave the house. Just use Instacart. You don't need to go out there and waste your time wandering through all these aisles. Oh, it's terrible. Okay, use Instacart. Make life a little easier on yourself. And the best part is right now, Two in the Cooler listeners get free delivery on their first order of $10 or more. All you have to do is spend $10 and Instacart will deliver whatever you're looking for right to your front door, absolutely free. So all you have to do to get that deal is hit the link in this episode description and start using Instacart today. And if you're interested in advertising on this show or our twin show, Schemin' and Dreamin', email snackspotsports. And if you're interested in advertising on this show or our twin show, Schemin' and Dreamin', or the newest podcast that we produce right here, Quested, the Dungeons and Dragons podcast, email snackspotsports@gmail.com for details on how you can start reaching thousands of listeners in the Buffalo area and beyond. Podcasting, it's a big thing. It's booming, okay? Big companies are getting in on the action. State Farm advertises on podcasts. Tropicana, McDonald's advertises on podcasts. That's insane that these large companies are doing it, but it makes sense because obviously they see all the benefits of that, and it's cool to see big companies in that way move away from more traditional media and into the podcast space. The issue that I have with it is that it doesn't leave any room for smaller local companies to get in on the action. So if you're interested in learning more about all the benefits to podcast advertising and why these fucking McDonald's is trying to get in the mix, reach out to us. Email snackspotsports@gmail.com for details. What do you say? Ready to go?
It doesn't. It's too late. The logos are off.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Emily put you in a tough spot
Fuck.
there.
I can't believe I fucked that up so
She
bad.
got you.
She got you.
Matthew, you got to do the show without me, dude.
No, not
I got to
me.
get out of
everything. It's on you today.
That's too embarrassing.
What episode are we on?
117, I want to say.
Damn.
This is 117 or this is 118?
This is 117.
Yeah, I mean, I've already carried you for 116 episodes. This one's on you.
Some would argue that that is true.
Yeah, so this one's on you.
Others would argue that it's very true. Ryan, thanks for being here, pal.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
But like just a second ago,
Yeah.
you were telling Matthew about results,
Right.
about how you
Yeah.
like to see results
Right.
happen. I could tell that just based on how you've been recently on social media.
Oh, thanks,
Which is obviously
man.
where I see the most of you. I'm like, this guy is not fucking around anymore. This guy is getting down
Yeah.
to business. You've been DJing all over the place,
Yeah.
and you want this, man. You're working for it. You're really, really going for it.
Yeah, dude, we got a lot of exciting stuff. Like, I want to just like tell like about it now because like we're on the podcast and shit. But I've really been putting my head down and like thinking like, so to bring it back like a long time ago. So I started my music journey started back when I was 7, and actually probably started since birth. Honestly, like my mom's Hispanic, right? She grew up on the West Side in Trenton, and so she has a lot of musical influence from like her parents, and you know they immigrated here from Puerto Rico, and before that Spain. So there's a little bit of like Latin influence, and I was always listening to like different stuff. You know, my dad traveled the world. He was in the Navy. He went to Guam, Hawaii, all these different places, San Francisco, like Chicago. And my mom was a flight attendant, so she, again, like more traveling, more seeing places, and like, so I think those two together like really brought in like a bunch of culture to the house. And my mom would always rip music, like whether it was the radio or like, you know, her own CDs and vinyls and stuff. And back in the day, like I remember she had this blue boombox, right? And ours was broken, right? So we kind of like hacked it where you could open the CD disc and you could still like watch the record spin, kind of like a vinyl. So we would like scratch on it, like for real, like with like, I mean, my brother didn't
With a
really get into
CD?
it with a CD, yeah, on like a little blue, I forget what brand it was. I want to say it was a Sony boombox, and so we started that, and like my mom was like putting us on to all kinds of different artists, like Sade Adu, Barry White, Lionel Richie, like classic, just, you know, timeless. And so I took like a kind of this like appreciation for jazz music, and I started playing the saxophone in like 4th grade, and I quit that a year after because I was just, what happened was no one really told me how to like take care of the instrument. So there was a bunch of stuff that I would do wrong that you're not supposed to do with the saxophone. I would bite down on the woodwind. I wouldn't change the woodwind a lot. I was really bad at cleaning my instrument, and the instrument was also used and damaged when I got it because we were really, really poor. So like as I'm playing these melodies and like practicing, I would just hear these random spurts of like a really bright like melody, and it would fuck up like whatever flow I was on. And I just recently found out like I got ADHD. So like my whole life I've just had this problem like focusing and not, you know, taking the tasks on and like really, really doing them. So I quit the saxophone and I took on the bass guitar. My best friend John played the bass, and it was upright bass. We were in the orchestra together. We just played side by side. And I was like, man, I don't think this music shit's for me. Like, I'm not getting it. And so I started playing sports. And I was playing lacrosse. I played lacrosse from 6th grade all the way until I was a junior in high school, and I quit. The reason I quit was because I wanted to get a car for school. So I started working 3 jobs and just like saving up for a car, doing what I had to do. And then when I got to college, I was like, my senior year of high school actually, I was like, okay, like what do I want to do? And you know, my cousin Jordan was telling me about how, you know, the tech scene's like emerging, and there's all these like different opportunities to like basically, you know, build whatever you want and just like sell it off. And it was very reminiscent of like these stories I had heard in like the early 2000s, like Mark Cuban, for example. Like he got rich off broadcast.com, sold it to Yahoo at the top, and then like has been riding that wave ever since, like, you know, rolling the chips basically. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I want to do. I was very entrepreneurial growing up. Like I would sell baseball cards to kids in like 2nd grade. I did the garage sale flip. Like before Gary Vee was publicly saying like, you know, go to garage sales and buy stuff. Like you can ask Theo Russell about that. Going to the Crazy Hat Lady, like getting a hat for $10, selling it to do it at my school for 100% markup, right? Like stuff like that. And so I asked my cousin Jordan, I was like, you know, what's the play? Like, what do I do to like get the most out of my degree? And it's not really about like, you know, I'm working my ass off all the time. It's just like I'm trying to work like more efficiently now. Because before it was like, let me just grind the gears as much as possible. So he's like, you got to go to these things called hackathons. So hackathons are basically, they're a 24-hour, 36-hour, or 48-hour competition hosted by students at different colleges and universities. It's open invite, basically. You sign up on RSVP, you get put on like a list if you're there, and you get to build a product within 24 hours, and you have to pitch it at the end for like prizes and stuff. And I'm like, what's so important about these? He's like, you get to build anything you want, like every weekend. You get to network, you get to meet people, and you make connections. So the first one I went to was at Cornell. I made a website about, it was like a blog. It was pretty basic. It was just like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But I didn't know any of that at the time because we were learning Java in school. And I was like, man, I'm like, if I do this every week, right, like I could just blow whoever out of the water who's not going to these. Like there's a select few of people that are going to these from my school and stuff every weekend. But, if I'm working with them, like, and I come together, like I can learn a ton of stuff. Like, so that's what I did. I went to 13 in one semester. I traveled all over the country. I went to Harvard, Yale. The furthest I ever got down was like Philadelphia. Furthest ever I went up was like Toronto. I remember I went to Waterloo.
And you build a different project each time.
You build a different project each time. So like, the Echo Dot?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I saw someone build that, like a prototype of that before the Echo Dot, or not the Echo Dot, the Echo Ring came out.
Okay.
Like, so, and it would like scan your face. This was
like the doorbell?
Yeah, this was at Cornell.
Okay,
Someone
gotcha.
was like, they used the Facebook API. And basically they took a camera, like a Logitech, and it scans your face, takes a picture, and then runs it through the Facebook API. And it's like, okay, this person's on your Facebook friends list. Like, we're going to ring the doorbell and let them know you're there. Like, that type of shit.
That's
and
crazy.
So I made it a point, like, when I went with my friends, because I only had a select few that were down for the cause, right? Like Josh Harena, AJ Leparty, Peter Gottesman, Tristan Wiley, like Stephen James. All those kids, they have their own businesses or like work at Google and shit now. And they were like, yeah, we want to build, different stuff every time and try to like really grow like in our career. So I knew like by the end of my freshman year, like I had these companies that were reaching out to me. One of them being M&T, the other one being ACV Auctions. And this is where like my journey really started. So I went to a hackathon at UB. It's my second one, and I meet this guy at like 4:30, and I type in this like Slack channel because they have like a help like box. It's kind of like Discord if you've ever used it.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, all my teammates just quit on me because that's what happened, right? They were like, fuck this, we're going to the dorm. Like, this is stupid. We don't see the point. And I'm like, you guys just aren't like, you don't see like, 10 feet beyond, like, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, all my teammates just quit on me. Like, I don't want to go home. Like, I want to keep working on this project. This is my idea. This is what I'm stuck on. And like instantly this dude, Joe Peacock, he's like, where you at? And I'm like, I'm upstairs. And this is all on video too. If you go to their UB Hacking 2017 recap, we could probably pull it up too, honestly. This dude comes up to me and we hit it off immediately. It was like I was talking to like an older cousin or something. And he's like, well, like, what do you want to do, man? Like, tell me what you want to do. And so I tell him, I'm like, I want to start some sort of like software business. Like I came here to learn software, and like, I think it's the easiest path to entrepreneurship. I'm not trying to really work for anybody. He's like, well, I just came back from Facebook, like working there as a technical program manager. He was the guy who led the infrastructure team that deployed Instagram stories. So when Snapchat came out with Instagram stories, Facebook/Instagram at the time was immediately looking to compete with that. Same thing like they kind of did with TikTok and Reels. So Joe like pioneered that whole kind of vision. And he's like, yeah, I had a hard time out there. I wanted to come back and do something in my city. Like, and I really respected that because, like at the time, like if you would talk to people from places like Long Island or New York City or wherever these other people like kind of come from that go to UB, because it's not mostly Buffalo kids, right?
Yeah.
Most of the people from Buffalo go to like ECC, Canisius, like places outside of this region, I feel like, or just very not UB, right? And so that's especially true for computer science. You get a lot of people from India and so on and so forth. A lot of people there just want to get a job and move to the West Coast. That was like the hot thing back in 2017. You had Uber that was like rumored to go public. You had Lyft that was popping up. Like Jewel startup was based out of Stanford. It was founded by two guys in product design and electrical engineering. Like there was a lot of like stuff happening on the West Coast. Like all this talk about like crypto and Web3 really wasn't a thing. I mean, Bitcoin was like huge, but anyway, so like the vision for a lot of people was to move to the West Coast. And I really respected Joe because he went to the West Coast and came back and like wanted to start something from the ground up. So I was like, tell me about the business that you work on. And he's like, yeah, bro, we sell cars on an app. And I'm like, I'm like, what kind of, like, how does this scale? Like, when I first heard it, I was like, it makes sense, right? Like, so he explained it to me a little more. I'm like, who'd buy a car on the internet, right? And he's like,
those are like famous last words.
yeah, that's what I said. I go, well, first of all, his name's Joe Peacock. And when I was like, can I get your email? He's like, it's peacock@acvauctions.com. And I'm like, that's not even a fucking real email. And he's like, yeah, it is. It's my last name. So, you know, I felt like I was kind of fumbling the bag in the beginning, like right away. So, but when I asked him, I was like, you know, who would buy a car off the internet? Like, you know, you can't see under it. And like, that's what I was thinking. Like, you can't see under it. Like, you can't drive it. You can't like, there's no like physical intimacy with the car. And he's like, yeah, people don't even have that physical intimacy with their vehicle now. I go, what are you talking about? He's like, all these people that buy these used car dealers, what happens is they buy cars off of auctions. So they'll come on like a conveyor belt, and then you just see like a 360 view, and then it's like, okay, boom, 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 boom. You don't see the undercarriage. You don't see like all these detailed photos of the car, the inspection history report, like VIN numbers, and just, you know, anything like that. So he's like, yeah, we do all of that. We take a minimum of like, at the time, I think it was 40 photos of the car. And he's like, we got some cool stuff in the works in regards to like some of the other like things. And he goes, we're growing at this rate. Like, you should apply. And I'm like, dude, I'm only a freshman. He's like, so what? Like, who gives a fuck? Like, I want you to apply. I want to see you there. And so I did. And I didn't get the job initially. I actually got rejected and denied for a master's student who I'm still friends with because he ended up working at the same time I did. And so I worked at M&T, and I was miserable, dude. In the cubicle farm, like working on a Windows, I think it was Windows 8 or Windows 7 at the time. Mm-hmm. But this is back 2017, so like that's prehistoric still. And if you're a software engineer, like the most important thing is like knowing how to Google and like look stuff up. And like M&T wouldn't let you go on like Reddit, they wouldn't let you do YouTube, like they wouldn't let you do certain Google queries. I found out
that's like in
it's like
high school when they wouldn't let you use Wikipedia
exactly
or like anything.
And I was like, how do you expect me to build like these crazy? What I was working on was I was working on two things: the integration with Zelle for the M&T Bank app, and another project that just didn't really catch wind of anything. So me and this other dude, Zach Wild, we finished the project early, and I was like, you know what, man, I'm done with this place. Like I already knew I was gonna go back to ACV at that point. Like, and I hadn't even talked to anyone. I was like, I'm just gonna work hard as fuck to get there because like it's a growing startup, and like if people are flocking from the West Coast to come there, like there's definitely some potential. And once Joe had explained the project idea to me about how like people don't even look at the cars anyway, I was like, this makes total sense. Like, so I reapplied. I called Joe and I called the CTO, the guy who wrote the initial app, Dan Magmashevsky, and they were like, yeah, you know, if you're ready to put your head down and work, like we got a spot for you. So that was kind of like, and I remember like messaging Joe like every day up to that point, like, you know, I learned this, like what's next? Like I learned this, what's next? So it's not really like people are like, oh, you know, you're working so hard and this and that. It's not necessarily that. It's just I'm taking the feedback more like to heart, and I'm really applying it to like my craft. Like someone was like, I saw someone post, because house music's becoming really popular in Buffalo now. Like it's I mean, Drake just made an album about it. Like Beyonce's got a single. All these DJs are coming out of the woodwork doing house dance and music. Like, the thing is, like, I saw someone post and it was like, can we not just spin like EDM the whole night? And I took that into consideration. I was like, damn, like, am I really doing that? Like, so, you know, I messaged her and I reached out and I was like, hey, I saw your post about this, this, and this. Like, you know, this is where I'm coming from. Like, I have all these different musical styles. You know, what would you like to see me incorporate into my next set? And she came out to the one and she was like, this was like the best, not performance, because it was just, you know, I'm at a club, like, or whatever. But she's like, I love the music. Like, it was the best I've heard in a while. And I'm like, in business, they teach you to do that, right? Like in business school. So I have a $25,000, or I had a $25,000 a year fellowship. It's the most prestigious award at UB that you can get. It's called the Western New York Prosperity Fellowship. Since I worked at ACV, I was given this award based on entrepreneurship. And so they teach you all these things about, you know, customer discovery, building a business, marketing yourself and like your company, and how to maintain an online profile. We even did things. We went to Russell Salvatore's one day, and they showed us how to like eat properly, like as if you were networking with like the Queen or something.
Yeah.
Like they really try to take you to that level. And so I was blessed for that opportunity because I feel like that puts me at an advantage. And so I take all this customer feedback from people. You know, hey man, what'd you think of the mix? Like, yo, can you give me feedback on this? Like, what was your favorite part? What was your least favorite part? You got any song suggestions? Like, who are you listening to right now? Like, what's, you know, I'll go and I'll scan like other people's Spotify's and like crate dig their playlists and I got a Google form in my bio that lets people submit anonymous feedback about my stuff. So, you know, I do work really hard. Like, I'm around the clock, but I think that's just a testament to like how I grew up. My dad was a corrections officer working like doubles, triples, back to back, like just, you know, waking up at 6, coming home at 11, and then like rinse repeat for 4 days, right? So I had a lot of endurance when it comes to like working, but I think I really just like I'm educated. Like I have I have like a business background. I got this software background. I'm a little bit street smart because my mom was like from the West Side. I've had kids like school me on stuff, and like my uncles and stuff do that. And I think like all of that just kind of culminates into like stuff working more effectively and more efficiently for me. You know, my Instagram reach, like you had mentioned, and blowing up on Instagram or whatever. My Instagram reach in the last 10 days is 13,000 accounts, and that's not by accident, right? Like that's because I look at the metrics and I'm like, okay, this is working, this isn't. Like, let me post it this time, let me do this. Reels are super hot right now, so I got a videographer. And then I'll do like photos for the promo and something like spice it up with other stuff. So I think it's just really a combination of that. Like, and to circle back from earlier, like a lot of people just don't want to put any work in or like do any research and kind of step back and say like, okay, what do I got to do from a high level perspective to get all the pieces moving at once? They focus too much on like, what do I got to do right now? Like, and a lot of DJs, you'll see that, right? They'll hustle for the next gig. They'll do this. Like, they'll jump on everything instead of saying, is this the right opportunity for me? And I did that in the beginning, right? Like, I took open format gigs, which means you spin any genre. I strictly do house, dance, and trance now because, you know, I'm better at it and I can do more with it. Like, why wouldn't I play to my strengths as opposed to just taking everything that comes? So, yeah, that's kind of what I think about that. I think people could just be more effective and, like, more efficient in their workflow, like, especially when it comes to like crate digging and stuff too. Like that's another conversation to have, but yeah.
And I mean, I can tell you, I noticed that right away. Like even today on your Instagram story, you were posting like, oh, like give me song suggestions, suggestions. Like,
yeah.
You know, and there's a lot to be said about, you know, and I guess I'm curious that, cause I don't know this necessarily, but I would bet that there is somewhat of a stigma, I guess, around, you know, different DJs and stuff like that. And I bet you it's not always incorrect. And I bet you there's a lot of people that don't have the mindset that you have on it. Like,
yeah,
looking at something like that from a bit, I'm sure Andrew will agree with me. It was super interesting hearing you like kind of walk through that because it's like, okay, something you're passionate about, yes,
music. But
you have, you know, a very different understanding than I'm sure a lot of people that are passionate about music have about this. Like, I like this, and that's why I'm willing to work so hard at it. But you also have this underlying, like, you know, knack for the business side of things.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and to follow that up, I guess, how much do you think, you know, your knowledge of computers and computer software helps you in, you know, making an original sound that a lot of people on SoundCloud are just pulling from somewhere else?
Well, I mean, like you can see it in the insights, right? Like, so I got tools that'll like separate stems that I've like, so like open source technology I've worked on with other people that'll like separate instruments from the actual audio file using like AI and stuff. So that's like one way it's helped me. My typing speed, I've been able to type over 100 words per minute since I was in 4th grade and we took the typing class at first. Like, I feel like I've had a natural kind of talent and like inclination for computers. Like my dad did computer like hardware repair, and he traveled like all across Atlanta before he settled with my mom and became a CO. But so he like was really hip to like the computers, and like during the tech boom, like we always had like the newest system, like the newest computer, like the newest fucking game system. Like we were ripping Halo 2 when we were younger, like, and I think a lot of like a lot of that influence just like, and I would play claw grip, right? Like you're holding the thing like this and pressing the button. Like I was really young doing that on like the fat Xbox controller. And I think like all that just kind of plays into like what I can do on the decks. It's really like, you know, I'm pressing stuff with like my pinkies and I'm like doing backspins with like different fingers as opposed to like, you know, some people just, a backspin is a transitioning out technique where you basically, you lower the volume of like a spinning vinyl as it's going on a track. So it creates like a woo noise. I can do that with one finger and just like not even worry about it. But a lot of people will like really concentrate and focus and try to like get that sound. And it's just like stuff like that, like the transitions, I feel like kind of come more naturally to me because of what I'm able to do with my hands and like my background with software. There's a stigma around house music DJs actually, because if you look at like these clubs and events, a lot of the times the bigger clubs will come with like their own setup, like a CDJ 2000 or 3000 or an XDJ it's called. An XDJ or CDJ or whatever you're going to use is 1, 2, mixer in the middle, and then 3, 4. And you basically just, it's plug and play, right? So you take your hard drive, you just pop it in, and you're good to go. You can hook up a laptop to it if you want and go from there. Now, the software is the same, but the hardware of the CDJ restricts you in terms of like what you can do. Just recently, they came out with the ability to like search on it and do all these different things. So people are like, why don't you get rid of the laptop? I'm like, why would I? I could type 100 words per, like over 100 words per minute. I know all the shortcuts to get to different apps. The software I have is broken. Like in terms of it's just overpowered. Like I can separate any stem from any song and make it sound perfect. And then on top of that, like I can jump around at any point in the song and it's auto-filled for me. So like I really, like my biggest thing, and the reason I say this is like minimizing like the extra steps, like minimizing the friction so I can just do what I'm best at. 2 years ago, I had a terrible mental health incident and I had to be pulled away from school. I wrote about it on my blog. If you go to ryandils.com/psychosis, I had a psychosis and I had to be, they tried to admit me into ECMC, but my mom ended up just saying fuck it and quitting the jobs and like nurturing me back to health. So, and that's where I like really found like, you know, like my relationship with God and just like really kind of thought about like, you know, what do I want to do in this life really? And music was the answer. And I found that out after I went to Arizona and visited my aunt. So I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah, that was basically that. And so to answer the question before, yes, technology has helped me like so much, and my background in computers, like all that stuff has like I truly feel like I'm at an advantage with a computer science background.
I think that's, if you look at almost any industry, my mind usually goes straight to entertainment, but
right,
the people who change the game are the ones who oftentimes have not spent their whole life thinking about the industry that they're now in, right? They have other things, be it like looking at it from a business standpoint, but that's what you need to be successful, to become an outlier in industries, is you have to, exactly what you said, when you're making things more efficient. I think I assume a lot of people, if they're starting to DJ, they will look at it and kind of want to do things because that's what they've seen people do.
Yeah.
But if you don't need to do those, you're holding yourself back.
Right.
So you need to you always need to have somebody go in there and just change the perspective for everybody. Just literally tilt the camera, even just a little bit.
1 degree.
Exactly.
And that's, I mean, so a lot of my technique is really different too. Like I use a lot of remix effects. I use a lot of samples. I'm really sample heavy. I think it adds like an element that just, you know, can't be brought if you're not using them. Mm-hmm. And so what I'll actually do like sometimes, and I've been working on this a lot, like I haven't debuted it yet, but you'll hear it in some of like my newer mixes that are going to come out. I have an Akai MPD, which is it's a beat pad. It's got 16 buttons on it. You can hook it up to the DJ 1000 I use, which is just a controller for controlling like the music and the fader and stuff. But you can actually map like points to it to jump at certain points in the track. You can add samples, effects, like remix tools. So like I'm doing these mixes, practice them at home, just like, you know, spamming shit and like adding a different element to it. I'm excited to pump that out and like just see, how different is my sound going to go from there. And there's like actual tools for that made by Pioneer that kind of elevate that. There's also like this debate about, so there's this tool called sync, right? So when you're DJing, there's one track and then another. And when you want to transition in, you have to do what's called a beat match. So generally what you do is there's like a lever on the side that tilts the BPM up and down. It's called the tempo slider. This is how I normally do it. I just say, okay, this one's at 126, and if this song's at 124, and when I load it in, that means I got to bring it down up to. So I'll pull the tempo fader down, I'll match it at 126, I'll hit the cue button, which lets me hear the song before anyone else, like while it's playing, and then I'll line it up, do the jog wheel adjusts, go from there. Sometimes when it's really hard to do that, or the grid line, which lines up the transients of like the bass and the melody and stuff, isn't lined up, I'll just press the sync button because I don't care about technique at that point. I just don't want to fuck the transition up, and I want other people to make it sound good.
So why would people not do that, though?
Because they think it loses the art of DJing, which is,
I
in my
understand.
opinion, asinine.
Yeah.
So if you think about the art of DJing, like you really want to take shit back to the art of DJing, right? If we were so focused on, okay, what's the art of DJing? I'd be showing up to Kohl's with a full crate of vinyls because that's the best quality sound, and like it's so authentic that I found it at a record shop while I'm just sitting there. Why wouldn't I put myself at an advantage and use a literal technology made to make a DJ's life easier? Because the way I see it now, like house music in Buffalo is in its infancy. No one knows what it is if they're coming from a mainstream background, really. I'm like, yo, you listen to house music? They're like, what's that? I'm like, it's EDM, basically. Dance music with a 4-on-the-floor drum pattern. Or hi-hat or cymbal on every other, and then like, progressive beat breaks and stuff like that. And they're like, yeah, I have no clue what that is. And I'm like, okay, well, come to Kohl's tonight. Or come to Soho, or come to Hardware, or wherever I'm at, Marcella. And then they fall in love with it, and they're like, where has this been? Like, so I think house music, and this is why, like, when people were ripping on the Drake album, I was like, nah, you got it all wrong, right? Like, that Drake album's going to be like a staple for house music soon. Buffalo sound, Toronto sound, like New York sound. It's all like Caribbean sound. It's all house except for the last track if you listen to it. And that really puts a lot of people on. It's the number one album in the world right now. It's his 11th number one. And so house music is really in this like kind of discovery phase for a mainstream audience. And that's normally who I play for. So you think Kohl's Ladies Night, Soho Saturday, Allen Street Hardware is like my underground night kind of, but then I'm at, they're trying to get me at Club Marcella again to do a couple more gigs there. So it's like my audience is not these house heads from Chicago that are like analyzing my technique and like how good my crate dig is. I'm playing music that people go, whoa, shit to. And the transitions are fire enough to where they like don't even notice that they're listening to, 4 songs at once coming at them. Like I've seen people try to Shazam my stuff and just get that no result because like Shazam can't even analyze like the 3 or 4 decks going at once. Like it's crazy, So I think house music right now, and what like if you're trying to pioneer house music in Buffalo, and I'm gonna look at the camera when I'm saying this, right? Like
Look at that one right there.
that one.
Yeah.
So if you're a house music DJ in Buffalo, what you need to do is focus on song selection and crowd interaction, not how well can I beat match without sync? How many decks can I use? And all this other shit that people care about. We're at a time, house is in its infancy. And that's why I started like the yacht house movement, right? Like,
yep.
It's the opportunity to just do whatever you want, but play to a certain style and like sound and put people onto that. People are too focused on like being so different that they're unidentifiable. And I think that really hurts people in the end.
Well,
Interesting.
I agree with that, and I'll say a few things here. One, because remixes in general, like have gotten really, really popular over the past few years.
Absolutely.
Like people love that, for me, I'll
think
tell you,
Big
half
Booty
of it,
Mix, right?
Exactly.
Like they came out of nowhere, and it's just like every college kid's ripping Big Booty if they don't have a DJ.
Yeah,
like
and
Two Friends push that culture so much,
and half of it is like attention span, right? Like when you're whatever you're doing, if you're not like sitting there and like listening to music and just chilling by yourself, like you don't want to listen to a 4.5 minute song, like if you're, buzzing around, like, by the time you get to that, by the time you get through the best part of that song, you're like, okay, like next song.
Yeah, and it's really training people to like be more patient, right? Because if you think about house, like average BPM is like 120 beats per minute. So, if you do the math on that, it's not very long when you do like a 16 bar intro and then a rise up for maybe like 8 bars and then the drop, right? Like that's probably a minute at most, depending on your BPM. So people can tolerate that. But like when you get into the more progressive stuff that I like to play, and like I really love taking people on a journey and showing them like different stuff. For some reason, like I've noticed like people are really sticking around for it. Like I think I'm just at the rate at which I'm kind of unleashing like the more progressive, like dancey, trancey vibe, as opposed to just the boom, 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 like in your speaker the whole night. I think that's refreshing for people, and it's something that, house music and like, not even house, I'll say, because house is like so true to that 4 on the floor. Like that's the whole point, really. That's like the bread and butter of house. I'll say dance music, really, has kind of lost sight of that. Like TikTok has basically made it like, who's got the catchiest hook with like the most danceable track for 30 seconds, and then like, is it blown the fuck out on the drop? People don't really have that like progressive journey anymore that like was made really popular by artists like Deadmau5 and Tiesto, but it's coming back, right? If you look up like the song Running by Anya, right? Like from Stranger Things.
Yeah. That
song's like super popular right now. Song Ferrari by James Hype. They got the guitar from, I forget what song it is, but it's got Miggy De La Rosa in it. Fucking banger. It just entered the top 100 on Spotify. But like people are really there for that journey, the rise, the breakup, and then like the final like release of just like yes, like I finally just got it. And then it's, you bring them back again. You just rinse and repeat.
Yeah, and it kind of ties into what I was saying too, and you brought it up, like,
Well, that's what I want to say. Like people got a short attention span now.
Well, and like sometimes it's, when you talk about like a big booty mix, for example, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, they're under. If you're at a party and exactly like you said, and nobody wants to work aux, and you just throw one on and it plays for an hour and a half, it's good. But the next time you are at a party, if you play the same song, like if you play the same mix,
you're fucked.
Well, because you learn it instantly, right? Like,
right.
You know exactly what's coming next, and that kind of defeats the whole purpose of like the big drop, like being excited for it, and like the build up, that rise that you're talking about, and then like the completion. And I don't know. And to follow that up, I don't know if this is an insulting question for a DJ. You ever seen the movie We Are Your Friends?
Yeah.
Sick fucking movie, dude.
Dope.
How many times do people ask you that?
It's always, I've never seen the movie, but up until a couple months ago, this dude came up to me at a Halloween party and was like, "Yo, you ever seen the movie?" Like, he's like, "What BPM are you on?" I'm like, 128. He's like, "Oh, you saw that movie?" I'm like,
"Nah,
dog. The song's just 128." Like, I'm not gonna push it past that because it'll get to dancey, like pump up shit, and like that's just not the vibe right now.
Yeah.
That reminds me of when Whiplash came out and everybody was like trying to deconstruct jazz. Like,
oh my god, regular. Yeah,
that
it's
drove
just like
me fucking crazy.
Dude, as
like,
someone who
you
really
gotta
appreciates
find the tempo. You gotta.
Have you ever
the
seen
tempo.
that movie, Andy?
Whiplash?
No.
The whatever.
We Are Your Friends.
Great
is
movie.
Dave Franco in that movie?
It's
no,
Zac Efron.
It's Zac Efron, Emily Ratajkowski.
Oh,
Great
I
movie.
remember
it's about
that.
Sick fucking
It's about
movie.
a dude trying to make it in like California, and he's like trying to find a signature sound, but he like falls in love and like the music.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
He falls in love with like his mentors.
What a
like,
roller coaster.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So
it's a good movie though.
I'm actually trying to plan to move out to Los Angeles like by next year. Me and my buddy Dom, he used to dance for Usher and live out there.
Whoa.
Yeah, he had an incident kind of like me too, and I'm not going to speak on his stuff, but he came back and wanted to better himself and like just kind of get situated before we like really make a big boy move out there. So like if shit goes right, man, and God lets it, like I'm there in Los Angeles like working. So we'll see how it goes.
It's incredibly interesting to hear your entire approach is essentially just how to bring more people on a large scale. It's how to bring more people to house music, but you've done it so perfectly in the way that you've narrowed it down to every single set that you do from what it sounds like.
Yeah, so I compose
meant to bring people
I try
in.
to compose, so I don't compose like the full set like in order. Like I won't stick to it 100% because you can't do that. You got to read the room. There's going to be people talking to you and you're going to get distracted. Like there's just so many external factors that can happen in 6 hours with alcohol, right? Like, but I'll come up with a general idea of like the vibe I'm going for. So I mean, I'm not trying to spoil anything at like for Cole's tonight, but
They won't hear
actually
this.
I will because
they won't hear this.
Yeah, right. So with Cole's tonight, like the one dude who's working the door that co-signed me and was like, "Yo, we got to get this kid like what he wants and stuff." His name's Neil, great guy. He's like, "You ever listen to Metallica?" And I have. Like, I love metal. It was before all that screaming shit. Before it just became like, who can get the most aggressive in the mic and blah blah blah. So I was like, I love melodies and stuff like that. Like, what, I want to open up with a Metallica song tonight. Like, what should I do? He's like, you should open up with One by Metallica. So that's my intro, just the instrumental. And then I'm going to transition into Selena somehow, if you know who that is. She's a Tex-Mex artist from, she got killed, unfortunately, by her fan club manager back in the 90s. And Selena Gomez is actually named after her. Legend. So I'm thinking about opening with that and then kind of transitioning into like a little more progressive stuff and then being like Ladies Who's Ready to Party and just bringing it up to like Milkshake Tech House remix with like Boyfriend Justin Bieber remix, like Jack Harlow, like Black Eyed Peas, like just everything. And then like backspin into a karaoke song like ABBA to get the girls just crazy. Like it's ladies night, like that's who I'm playing for, you know what I mean? So this girl, she's like, yeah, me and my roommates, we got this karaoke playlist. Like, could you throw some stuff on there? I'm like, absolutely. Like, are you serious? Like, just when people send me stuff and they're like, yo, I want you to listen to this, I take it as a compliment because it means like, or almost like a challenge, right? I'm like, they're challenging me like I haven't heard the song before. And in most cases, it's true. So it's not really like something that I get offended about. But it's a discovery process for me. Always. I'm always adding stuff. Yeah. Last year, so when I was using Spotify exclusively, this was back in 2020, I had 176,000 minutes of time listening. If you do the math on that, I think it's around 90 days. So it's just, I constantly got the headphones in, like letting the algorithm just kind of take me because for my computer science background, like I know that algorithm's broken as hell, right? If I do the right stuff, if I'm liking tracks past certain points and I'm listening to the whole composition, and I'm typing new artists in and I'm following people, like it'll put me on, it'll get me hip, right? Like it'll, like a lot of my stuff, man, shout out that algorithm, bro. Like Pandora, Spotify, Tidal, they all serve a different purpose. Like Pandora's station only, so it's exclusively stuff you haven't heard and it's randomized. Spotify is like if I want to look up stuff, build a playlist and like collaborate and have like stuff made for me that I can pull from. Tidal's straight quality, right? Like they get the master track. Apple Music is not even in the conversation. Actually, they are. They pay a lot of money for people to make like playlists and mixes and like one-off like radio shows. So like OVO Sound was on Apple Music for a while before they went to Sirius XM and did the Fry Yee show or whatever it's called. So like I have all music streaming services basically, plus like these DJ pools, plus like raw MP3s. I'm buying shit off Beatport. Like I want to say I have probably like 250,000 minutes listened to for music like at the end of this year for sure. Like it's just insane like how much you got to consume to really kind of hone in. And I think like I like every genre of music. There's no genre of music that I will not listen to, like even country, even metal, like the ones that people really hate. Like you'll see me at the Zach Brown.
I love country music.
You'll see me at the Zach Brown, but dude, Someone Else Calling You Baby, I made a tech house remix of it. Like that shit's gonna bang when it drops.
Yeah, see,
right?
that's
like,
unbelievable.
Like I almost went to that Morgan Wallen, like just to see like what was the vibe like, and try to learn something new. And like you'll catch me at the Zach Brown band with my cowboy hat on, like doing one of these and like drinking beers in the parking lot. Like I can get down with anything really. Like I've been to Warped Tour, I've been to Tiesto shows, like I've been all over the place, man, trying to do stuff. I haven't had the opportunity to travel really to like many different states and stuff because I didn't have a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What's interesting about your genre of music, and I don't know why this never occurred to me before, but your genre of music is all genres of music
combined with like 4 core elements to make it its own.
Right.
So if you think about house music, like 4 on the floor, cymbal on every other, rise up, breakdown, drop. And then you can get like deeper than that. So you can do progressive or minimal, which is like basically just like drums, minimal jazz elements. That's like Pausa or Golfos. You can do big room, which is like, okay, I'm at a festival and like everything is shaking and like the synths are piercing my ears. You can do tech house, which is more techno elements. So like the drum is a little different. There's like, they had congas and just like stuff like that. There's Latin house, there's deep house, there's bass house, future house. Like, you can really go down a rabbit hole, and you can do that for every genre. But I think with house, like people who do house music, from my experience, come from some background of like taking music seriously. They understand like at least a little bit of music theory, or they want to. They know how to build a beat. They have a really good song selection and a lot of inspiration to take from. This guy I worked with, Matt Busco. He's a 2X Latin Grammy nominated producer. Fucking genius. He's produced songs with Future and shit. And like this Drake remix we just did of the song Massive, like he arranged like the whole track, and I kind of like executive produced it and was like, okay, I want these elements. Like I hopped on the synth, I hopped on like the drums and the other percussion instruments and stuff. But he's a guitarist, right? So he was just like doing his thing on the track, like, and you're just tempo matching the gradients and adding like a certain element to it. And I think that one like could take off too. But it's just like, yeah, house music, dance music, like you're really combining like every element of music.
So I have a question, and usually this is a question we ask towards the end, but
yeah,
these tracks you're talking about that you're making, where can people listen to? Like, where if are they do you release them
so
yet? Do you
I have
wait on them?
My hard drive right now is full of a bunch of unreleased stuff because I'm trying to get on like a legitimate posting schedule, and kind of like I don't want to just flood the streets. Like I'm not Gucci Mane. Like I can't successfully put out like 30 mixtapes and just have that shit bang all the time.
Yeah.
So what I'm planning on doing is like every week I'll put out a 3-hour mix. It'll be a weekly recap of just the places I played at. It'll be either a live set or an independent set that I record at home after re-listening to the recorded sets from my live sets. So I'll combine all the elements of those and take people on like a separate journey from the club that they went to. But it's kind of nostalgic if you were there for like all of my gigs in the week.
Yeah.
I want to do at least 1 or 2 releases every week. And then I want to do like a mashup every week. That's a pretty intense schedule. Like if you're doing an original composition plus remix plus 3-hour mix, like it's a lot. But I want to, I want that shit. And I want to get to a point where people are like hearing my sound, and it incorporates all the elements of Buffalo, right? Like boom bap, trap, Latin, progressive, trance, like dubstep, super popular here. So it's a little bass house influence, like, but it's also techno at the same time, and like house, like it's yacht house, like it's for people who either want to go on a boat and party or fly someone out to Ibiza. Like that's our target audience, right? It's not for people who are going to be fly walls at the club and be like, where the hoes at? Like that's not what it's for. That's the sound I'm trying to push personally, but like I know I gotta get people hip to the genre for like a year first before I can actually like do that.
Yeah.
People can listen to me on soundcloud.com/DJ Gradient. So it's DJ GRADIENT. My most popular mix is called Gradient Descent 1. That is a live mix that I recorded at Soho. It's 3 hours long, no mess ups, great song selection. Second one is the Pool Economos mix. So we host private pool parties every Sunday. You guys are welcome to come if you'd like. I spin for probably 4 or 5 hours, and then we bring like someone else in to close it out. Drink, smoke, like food, pool. That's all I gotta say.
Sounds miserable.
Yeah, right. But like the second one was a live recorded mix of that. And what's funny about that one is like, we were talking to my buddy Alex's dad, and we were like, we want to throw these pool parties, but we don't want them to get like too rowdy. He's like, if you can work in the Pink Panther theme song twice and make it sound good, like you can,
yeah.
He's like, you can do it. Like you could throw a banger, and we could bring it up. I actually do it. And so needless to say, we'll be seeing a lot of people bi-weekly on Sunday, basically.
Man.
Yeah.
It's a good way to get people to listen to you.
Right, yeah. Open up with the Pink Panther theme song. I actually, I might try that at Cole's tonight, like at some point, like just have people like, what am I listening to?
Yeah. I love the Pink Panther. Yeah.
There's a song that I found, shout out to John Summit. So he did a live set at this place called DJ Mag Miami. And I was listening to the set, and I heard this one song. It's just a bunch of like sex noises, right? It's like, but it's melodic, right? Like it's like, it makes sense. And then there's like a breakdown, and then this you could tell he's like a black Jamaican guy or whatever, like a deep hoarse voice. He goes, "I'm a headphone, turn the bass up." Like he says something crazy, like spits bars, and then it just goes, woo woo, really loud, and then it breaks like into just this crazy tech house like conga shit. And so I ripped that and I played it at the beach at my Pauly D opener set, and I let it go for a little longer than he did, you know, and it was to the point where people were like, okay, like what the fuck is going on right now? Like, is he just looping? Like, what's he doing? And then it broke, and everyone was like, oh my God. Like, it was a great feeling. Just like people pointing at me, like loving the music. Like, it was great. I got 160 Instagram followers within the week after doing Pauly D. So, like, just, you know, word of mouth and music is coming out. Like, I really think, and I don't want to like jinx myself, but I think I'm on the right path with music, and like I think my career's on like an upward trajectory, to say the least.
100%. Just seeing on Instagram literally how much you've been pushing that recently. It's like, oh, this is a guy who really, really wants this.
And I want it to be known, like, not that I want it like in the sense of like the fame and the success. I just want people to like listen to good music, dude.
Yeah,
like, I have
enjoy themselves.
I have no disrespect for any rapper. I love rap music. But like, rap music has passed its peak. SoundCloud era is over for rap music, I think, and it's,
yeah.
You look at what the mainstream people are doing. Like, Drake came out with his first house song with Georgia Smith in 2017, Get Together, or whatever it is. It's off his like playlist album, More Life. It's a flip of Black Coffee's Superman, which is an old ass song from like 12 years ago. The original song goes like, can you be my Superman? And then they like flip it to do their own thing. And then it didn't put Black Coffee on because he's a legend, but it pushed him to like a mainstream audience that is just haven't heard his stuff before. That's kind of what I'm trying to do with the Latin vibe, like the island vibe, like the yacht vibe, right? Like, I grew up listening to real soulful music, Lionel Richie, Marvin Gaye, Barry White, Sade Adu, you know, Celine Dion, like Fleetwood Mac, all these people. My dad listened to country and reggae. And then I listened to metal and rap and everything else. So I want to try and combine those elements and like push a sound that's really unique to Buffalo to like a general audience. And like, it's always been about the music for me in this. Like, if I want, like, to get real vulnerable, like, I was making $60 an hour as a software consultant, and I was working probably 6 to 8 hours every day. Super easy work, right? Like, but I hated it. I literally wanted to kill myself. I thought about it for a while. I even went as far as like almost doing that shit, like taking all my antidepressants, all my Lexapro, and just saying fuck it, like I'm done. What did it for me is I put on a track radio of this song that I discovered during quarantine. It's called Now Jazz. And like, if I'm gonna kill myself, I got to do it to jazz music. Like, that's a fact. So I put on this song called Now Jazz. It's by an artist called Golfos, one of my favorites. It's like an 11-minute song. And I was like, this is so fitting. Like, you know, from this point, like, it starts real bassy, then it brings in a vocal sample. I'm like, I'm gonna get high off my ass, and then I'm just gonna end it. Like, I've turned on this song, and then I like ended up listening to the whole thing, and I got distracted, and like, I think another song came on, I didn't like it, and then so I skipped it. I was like, I can't go out like this. And then I just went on like another discovery of music and distracted myself, and then I was like, wait a minute, like, I literally just wanted to kill myself like 30 minutes ago. Like, why? Like, what changed? And then I looked in the listening history, and it was the music, dude. Like, the music was different. Like, I swear, like, the algorithm or like a microphone or like something like picked up that I was just down bad as fuck, and like, you know, put on like just stuff that was really unrelated to just what the original song is. If you think about the song Now Jazz by Golfos, if you've ever listened to it, it's a progressive, like, minimal tech house song with a leading piano and a leading saxophone and like a sample. Wildly different in beats per minute, arrangement, length, everything from an artist like Kate Renata that's more like neo soul. And so I was like, I'm gonna let the algorithm take me. And it just went like more upbeat, more happy. Like, we got to Higher Love by Whitney Houston at one point, and I was like, man, like, this shit just turned my whole like psyche around, really. And this was about like 3 months ago. And oddly enough, like, I went to Rec Room. This was like early March, actually. Early March, late February, when I was thinking about, you know, doing all that. But I went to Rec Room one night, and this dude that I've known for a while, his name's Brian Coppola. He's another DJ. He goes by the name of Buck Wild. He's pretty valid.
Yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah, he played hockey with my cousin back in the day.
Yeah,
Alfredo
I've played
Lugo.
hockey with him before.
Yeah, so Alfredo's my cousin, if you know who that is, Alfredo Lugo. And I knew Bucky when he was, thinking about doing hockey, and then he was at UB, and then I've known him for a while. So he was spinning over at View Rooftop Lounge, getting his shit started up, and then he got a new gig at Rec Room doing Fridays upstairs. So he's like, I saw him at the club. I was like, yo, man, can I get your... Because this is when I was really going hard on open beats, which is another adventure of mine, which, I don't even know if we have time to get into that. But, so, I told him I was asking, questions for customer discovery and, again, that feedback, right? You produce music, you mix music, what's important to you from, a digital audio workstation and collaboration perspective. I don't really remember what he said, to be honest, but the focal point of our conversation was, by the way, if you want a DJ, there's a spot open at View for you. And I was down bad as fuck on cash. I'm like, what's the going rate? And he told me, and I was like, shit, it's better than what I'm making right now. It's not where I want to be, but it's a start. And so I went there, and they liked me for a while. I ended up asking for more money because I was bringing people in, and they let me go after that. So now I'm looking for a Friday gig. I'm probably gonna lock in on Marcello, to be honest. But yeah. So Bucky really kind of got me because before I was just a bedroom DJ. I was just making mixes for my friends to go to the gym and shit and listen, their private SoundCloud links. And I wasn't really making music to do all the stuff I had just talked about. And when I saw that people really fucking with my sound and coming out and putting me on their story and just being yo, DJ Dils in the building. This is when I was going by my government for a while. I was like, okay, maybe I should try to push and get a new gig. Try something different. This guy, DJ Jet, he was like, yo, man, are you looking for more gigs? I was like, yeah, bro. Obviously. He's like, well, they're trying to do this thing at Soho where, one room is house and dance. The other one is my shit. So I was like, all right, bro, I'll, whatever. Him and I aren't really close anymore. We got a personal beef, I guess, but I'm trying to dead that, because I just don't want bullshit with anyone. But anyway, so, these people, once I had kind of built some sort of credibility within View, it's just, I applied the same technique to every other place. Cole's is on the up and coming, and because they haven't had a DJ in 9 weeks, and people are finally excited to see one and get a fresh perspective on stuff. It's about to be the same thing with hardware. We got really cool stuff planned that you should be on the lookout for. And I think, it takes people to kind of push you in a certain direction, and things happen definitely for a reason. So, I got tons of respect for everybody that's put me on, but in the same breath, it's if you have the attitude and the effort, but you can't execute, you're going to lose every time. It's all about the execution at the end of the day. I could go in there with a great track list, but if I fuck up every transition, no one cares because it's going to sound like shit and there's going to be no flow. You got to execute on everything. And that's where I think I just have that drive, I feel like.
Yeah.
Right. That's where your physical approach to what you're doing on the board comes into play.
You guys should see me.
With that
you guys should see me play
stuff.
tonight if you can. I think it would be great. 11-2 spinning at Cole's. I got an open tab.
I know Matthew can't because he's got a real job.
Yep, sorry. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to pay the bills.
Yeah, right? Someone's got to keep the lights on.
Yeah. No, but, if
not, you'll hear it on SoundCloud because I'm recording the mix tonight and I'm going to post it after.
Yeah.
So do you different spot every night? Are you working every night?
So, okay, my schedule looks something like this. So Monday I have off, Wednesday I have off, Friday I have off.
Gotcha.
I did that on purpose because I wanted an every other kind of thing except for the Saturday, Sunday. So the weekend is a total bender for me. I'm there Friday. Friday I'm in the studio. Wednesday I'm in the studio. Monday I'm in the studio. Tuesday, Thursday I'm at Kohl's and Hardware respectively. And then that starts in 2 weeks, the Hardware, by the way. And then I'm at Soho on Saturday, and I got the Pool on Sunday, Pool Economos on Sunday. So I'm really I'm in the same spot, and I do the occasional Marcella or Fairleigh Allen. I haven't been to Fairleigh in a while, but Marcella was yeah, come to the house room, we'll give you a tryout. So that went super well. They love me there, so I'm hoping something comes out of that. $4 million club, 2 separate rooms, beautiful in there.
Wow.
Yeah. People sleep, man. They don't know where the spots are, and that's another thing. I'm trying to get people to go to places like Underground, where it's a gay club, but one, you shouldn't give a fuck. Two, it's like that's such a vibe because those people are so free, like they don't care. And also, like, the music is good, like they got good DJs, great PA system, drinks are cheap, like, and I'm like, yo, let's go to Underground tonight. They're like, what the fuck is that? You know, like, and I'm like, okay, let me show you. And then it's like one of their favorite spots.
Yeah.
And then I gotta credit like this dude Jeff. He goes by Ellen DeGenerate for that one, and I gotta shout out like Tara Songster for that one too. Like they really put me on a lot of places. So yeah, just trying to like spread like the word of like, because Buffalo, like at the end of the day, Buffalo's got a marketing problem. What's Buffalo known for? Everyone's nice to each other. It snows and we eat chicken wings, and like sometimes it smells like Cheerios. Now we got a good football team. That's like the core five, right? When I worked at ACV, they were like super big on culture. Like, what's the culture in Buffalo? You know, it's well defined somewhere, but I can't, you know, it's like the city of good neighbors, right? That's the culture. There's not really like stuff that people kind of flock here for. Granted, there's a lot of really nice stuff going on. Good football team, Canal Side, thriving music scene, great food. You know, nightlife is really picking up. There's all these different events going on. Like if you follow Discover Buffalo, like you could really get hip with a lot of stuff. And like that's another thing that really blessed me about the Prosperity Fellowship is like they take you to those places and show you like this is why you should stay. You know what I mean? Because they want to attract like those talented. They invest over like they invest millions of dollars every year to students, and like they're really trying to keep people in the region because they just know like it's on the cusp of something like I feel like something really big. Like look, if the Bills won, you know that meme of like it's like the futuristic city.
Yeah.
And it's like if this happened, this would be like if we won the Super Bowl last year and we were grinding this house wave, like, and people were going as hard as I think a lot of other people maybe should be, like we'd be that futuristic city, right? Like yeah. Our time will come, right? I'm not worried about that, but it's just like, you know, I think Buffalo's on the cusp of like something.
Right.
Huge,
How can we get that time here faster?
How can you get that time here faster? Shit, man. I would just say
I mean, I didn't mean for you to answer that question necessarily, but go.
So I don't have like a concrete of like what should we do. I think what we got to do is we got to support these ground up communities. Like a lot of people want to jump on shit when it's going from 1 to 10, right? Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier to go from 1 to 10 as opposed to 0 to 1, even though it's a magnitude of 10. When you go from 0 to 1, like you have nobody with you, right? When I was my first night at Fally, I had to bring people and sell out the section. If I went by myself, nobody would have showed up, right? But now I don't have to invite people. I can just throw something on my story or show up to a place and people will be there. And that's not to get cocky. I'm really blessed for that. But people don't want to work and build shit from the ground up. I love going into these bars like Kohl's or Hardware that are struggling almost and like saying, yo, like, how can I help? Like, what's your vision for this place? How can we execute on it? People want to just go straight to 500 and like rip for everybody. Granted, you can do that. And if it works for you, like more power to you, because I don't spin at 500. Like I've been sending them my mixes. I think I'm good enough to play there, but it's like, you got to work and like build shit from the ground up a little bit. You got to get your hands dirty. You got to support multiple communities and you have to be involved. You should follow Turntable Renaissance on Instagram. You should follow Discover Buffalo. You should follow Step Out Buffalo. You should follow like these hashtags. You should geotag all your stuff. You should talk to like 5 new people when you go out. Because Buffalo is a very small community, right? There's generally 1 or 2 degrees of separation between like anyone in the city from what I've learned. And I would also say be open to trying new spots. Like clear your schedule to go. Like don't rip chip every weekend. You know, go to Underground one night for an after Sunset Sunday. You know what Sunset Sunday is? It's house and dance music and like beat breaks on the water. You got to buy tickets. They're like 10, 15, 20 bucks. They do a lineup of 4 and it goes till the sunsets. Like it's dope. I haven't been there yet because I'm doing the pool, but like I'll be there next time. It'll be dope. And then I know the after party is going to be at Underground. Like there's going to be great DJs there. You can talk to people and really find like yourself there. You know, we've had this, I compare it to like Leonardo Da Vinci. Leonardo Da Vinci is like someone that I've read a lot about and I kind of look up to. Like he was just like a queer man, like fucking polymath, good at like drawing, but he made a connection to everything, and he was always curious about stuff. So like instead of just like for example, like he wanted to know what a bird's tongue was like, so he went and like killed a bird and then like felt its tongue and drew it on a piece of paper, and it's in his notebook or something like that. Not saying you got to go that far, but like you should really go out there and see shit for yourself.
Yeah, be curious.
Instagram, like be curious and be open to shit. Like don't be so closeted and restricted in the sense of like I'm gonna rip Chippewa Rec Room every night, or I'm gonna go to Bottoms or Venue, or so. Like you can do that and have a great time, but I know as a DJ personally, it's hard to keep shit fresh every single night. Like you want to have people in a rotation, and you want to see different stuff. You want to be pushing different scenes. Like Turntable Renaissance is a page dedicated to uplifting like creative DJs and producers in Buffalo. They do a hotspot every single week right before the weekend starts, and it shows you, okay, this is where the most popular and most kicking like promoted events are going to be at. Take your pick. Then they have all the other stuff they promote on their story. And then it's like there's other groups like that. Like you guys had No Label on, right? And they were like probably talking all kinds of music stuff. Like be open to just trying different forms of stuff. Like don't just sit at home. Like we got this, like I really compare it to like, Black Plague, COVID. 2016 was like the golden age. There was like a golden era before that. Shit went south after like everyone got sick, and like we got to pick the pieces up in a little bit. Now it's like, okay, all the creatives are like, well, fuck this. Like I can't do anything. I might as well just do what I'm good at. And then it's going to be a renaissance again. Yeah. And it's going to be a turntable renaissance. It's going to be a fucking creative renaissance. It's going to be technology scene. Like, ACV Auctions was the first unicorn startup to go public out of Buffalo. And I talked to kids at my school. I'm like, yeah, I worked at ACV Auctions. And they're like, I'm like, have you ever heard of them? And they're like, no, we don't know what that is. Like, I'm like, are you serious? Like they're like the Facebook, or they were the Facebook of like, Buffalo tech and stuff like that. I got my eyes on this company called Foundry though, man. Like Dan Magnashevsky, the founder of ACV, he was like, he retired as CTO from there, and he picked up another CTO position at this job called Foundry. They do all kinds of stuff with Web3, blockchain. We were exchanging ideas about like what we think could kind of come about with music and NFTs. And, I think that Buffalo, like everyone talks about Miami, you're like, nah, Buffalo could be that, right? Like our summers are really hot.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It's just, you got to go through the winter a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's even getting more easier to go through because of like global warming, right? Like you think, yeah, the weather is shit and it's depressing, but it doesn't really snow in December anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't snow until February.
Yeah. So it's like, you could go to Los Angeles, or you could go to all these other hot spots that are kind of popping off and start fresh, not have a network, no credibility, and try to make it happen. Like people go to New York and shit and try that. Like I've seen it time and time again. And it doesn't work out for them. But like you could come back, you could build something from the ground up here, stay in your hometown and just, ride the wave with it and feel a lot better about yourself. So, I'd love to see the Bills win the Super Bowl, and I'd love to see myself like do a stadium mix like on the CDJs up there. I really think I could blow the roof. Well, I mean, there's no roof, unfortunately.
We'll put one in for you.
I got my opinions on that, but I could, really, really make it loud in there.
I'm in for that. And the Bills Super Bowl. Yeah, I'd love that.
Josh Allen's a stud. Can we just talk about that for a second?
Beauty.
Yo, he ranked his top 3 video games, and he had Modern Warfare. I forget what it was. My cousin. You mind if I look it up?
Yeah, go ahead.
He had his top 3 video games, man, and it was so cool to see him, because I was like, my cousin was like, man, how is his top 3 like our top 3? So this is what Josh. So we could do this too. I think it would be fun. What are your top 3 video games? Right. Josh Allen's got Modern Warfare 2 number 1, Fortnite number 2, and we're looking at Madden at 3.
That makes sense. I mean, it's tough for me. I think I know what one of Andrew's would be, and I would probably agree. In my top 3, it's got to be Simpsons Hit and Run. You ever played Simpsons Hit and Run on the GameCube?
I played it on the original Xbox.
Oh, yeah. We played it on the GameCube. So Dude, that game is all time. I mean, I could do top 3 GameCube games alone. Luigi's Mansion, unbelievable GameCube game. Boom. Modern Warfare 2, great game. I mean, Fortnite, maybe recency bias, but I played a ton of Fortnite.
Yeah.
It even made a comeback like a couple months ago.
When they got rid of the vehicle.
Yeah.
They got rid of the bullshit.
Yeah, and then I was on the train again, and now I'm back off it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I play a lot of NHL too. I think hearing Josh Allen say Madden, it's like, okay. Well,
it's like we get a year for that
player. And that's probably why I would put NHL in there myself. Like,
I actually made a beat for Josh Allen, and I sent it to him and his girlfriend. They haven't listened to it yet, obviously, but it's pretty funny. But yeah, what are your top 3 video games, bro?
I mean, I've probably only really actually played like 3 video games my whole life. So it would be Simpsons Hit and Run, and then Lego Star Wars.
Great one.
The complete saga for the Wii. And then I guess by default 2K.
Yeah.
Like of some 2K, the one I loved was like
2015. You owned it.
No, it was the one that had like Blake Griffin and KD and somebody else on like it. I think it was like 2012 or something.
Oh yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. I don't know what year that is, but I never really got into sports games. Like,
what are your 3 then?
So, you guys know Austin Mcdonald, right?
Yeah.
You want to hear how I met Austin Mcdonald?
Yeah.
So I met him I met this dude, Austin. I was in a Black Ops 2 League play game, and I had 716 in my clan tag. He's like, "Are you from Buffalo?" I'm like, "Yeah, bro. I live in Hamburg." And he's like, "Oh shit, I'm from West Seneca, bro." Like, he's like, "Yo, let's party up real quick. Like, let's get a bunch of guys." So he invites this dude Tim Ski, or Ski. I always fuck up the last name, but yeah, that's how we hit it off. And through him, I met like Klinko and Liz Hattrick and Tony Stornelli and like James and just Kyle and like fucking everybody. And Austin was nasty at the game, so I loved playing with him. He was funny as fuck too. He was just like homoerotic, and it was like just a perfect amount where it would like throw people off, and like it was really funny.
He's good at that. He's a funny dude, and he was on that Black Ops shit for a
minute.
He
was nastier than me, and we were.
I heard he was great.
Yeah, so he got dude. This is how fucked Austin is. So back in the day, like with Black Ops 2, you would get like your IP address hit all the time by booters. Like we would enter a game, and as soon as we saw like a Master Rank 1, like we knew we were losing points. Basically, we would break the lobby most times because we just wanted to play. Like, but we played any game mode because we just wanted to get in the lobby after like 15 minutes of searching for like decent opponents that looked like they weren't gonna fuck us. So Austin got Master Rank 1 and beat out like all these different booters, like by playing the game normally and like being sick as fuck at it. And he played with no toughness, which was a perk in the game that would like keep your shooting straight when you got shot at. So his gun would always go like this, and his sensitivity was just so high that he would like adjust it down and beam him.
Just snap it back and beam him.
Tim was raw as hell too, I remember. And we partied up with this random that we met from Canada called Master P, and we formed a team of 4, and we got like rank 4 in the world, but we just stopped playing because we were like, we're never gonna beat the booters. Like,
yeah,
sure.
They were like 10,000 points ahead of us in the ladder, and so we were like, nah, there's no way. So we were technically number 1 for like legitimacy in Black Ops 2, but like for that reason alone, like I'm gonna say, and Black Ops 2 like was a perfectly balanced game.
I love Black Ops 2.
Like
I still play it sometimes.
They had the pick 10 system, and then they had like perks for every equipment that would counter it. So if you were getting fucked by like EMP grenades, you could throw on like hardwired.
Yeah.
Or if you were getting hit by stuns, you could throw on tac mask. If you're throwing a ton of nades, you could like switch to a flak jacket class. Or throw a trophy system down, right? Like
I played so much Black Ops 2. I played Hijack. Oh, dude,
Hijack's a great map.
It's the best map.
I mean, I'm gonna throw Raid as the best out there.
Yeah.
Because
I would always play too. Like we would play. Still to this day, we still do sometimes. Like just like the boys. Like when we're chilling together, we'll pull out. Well, thank God we can play it on the Xbox One now, because even until like 2-3 years ago, we would play it on the Xbox 360, and the graphics are horrible. You're
not your eyes playing low. To 4K,
yeah, exactly.
Right? Like,
and I still probably like once a month it comes out. We'll play some Town. We'll play some Zombies. We'll fire it up. I love that game. Before we go any further, we should do the Hoodrun of the Week, because we've been going for a while,
as we are obliged to do.
Yes.
I don't even remember what the fuck.
But my top 3 video games.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Black Ops 2, number 1. Halo 2, number 2.
Great game.
Modern Warfare 2, number 3. Actually, League of Legends, number 3.
Okay. Yeah,
League of Legends, number 3.
Too.
I'm putting that over Modern Warfare 2. This is where Modern Warfare 2 loses me. Infinity Ward fired their whole dev team 2 months after the game came out. And they never updated it again. That's why the One Man Army noob tube shit was like, fucked.
Well, that's why so many people
and
want
sucked.
it like like they want it to come out again, and it just never will. It's all right. Hootman of the week, and then we'll wrap up. I have a couple more things to say, but let's do Hootman of the week first.
Do you remember what it was?
Yes.
What was it?
It was fuck.
What it was? Damn.
No,
Sorry,
it'll come to me.
Yeah,
no, it'll come to me
no,
too.
it was someone. It was a sick one. I remember. It was cool.
Oh, I remember what it was. It was a ripstick.
Oh yeah.
Versus a green machine.
Dude, it's been so fun.
All right,
just
so
getting
can we
to
pull up a
listen
picture
to
of the
you that
green machine? So if
we can't pull it up on there, we don't.
I don't know if this was like
Yeah.
Joe Rogan, like Jamie pull it up.
No, eventually we'll have that. With,
Yeah,
but we have to
got
train
that far,
Emily's fingers to do your DJ shit, so that she can just pull things up.
Hey, Cole's tonight, man. My set starts at 11. So
it was fascinating just watching you like mime out that shit.
Oh
like,
yeah,
just
really?
now on the table, it really
This is
was.
a green
It was
machine.
very
You
interesting.
remember that puppy?
Yeah. So can I point it at the
Yeah,
camera?
you can point it at the camera.
Which one? That one?
Probably the one down the middle there.
All right. So this is a green machine. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, they can see it.
Get right up there.
Oh yeah,
The green
Dude.
machine.
the green
So
machine.
this thing is a tank, right? You might as
Yeah.
well rename it the Hulk. It's just
Some people
it's a
did call it
trike.
the Hulk.
It's a trike that's got the pedals on it, and you can drift with the
Yeah.
levers.
It's like an X Games, like very
you want X
like
Games, man.
it's like a Rob Deerdeck like big wheel.
Here's the thing.
Right.
Here's
Versus
the thing
a
about
It's if Fantasy Factory took a bunch of plastic and they were like, let's make
dude.
something.
I fucking love Fantasy.
I had a
Factory.
dream. I had dreams about that place. Bro.
Yeah,
Jump in the foam
we
pit.
I say all the time, like one day we're gonna have a Fantasy Factory and it's gonna be unbelievable. But the ripstick though, here's the thing about the ripstick. The ripstick is probably not as durable, but it takes a lot of skill.
Right.
To like anybody can get on a green machine, right? Because it's got 3 wheels. You're sitting on it. You might not be good at it, but you can do it. Not everybody can get on a ripstick. A ripstick is a unique skill.
Yeah, ripstick is a 2-wheeled skateboard with a
like a bar
with a tube in the
essentially
middle
in the
that
middle,
that
Rotates.
twists and turns, so you can propel yourself
Yeah.
forward through like a certain sine wave motion.
Yeah, it's funny that you brought up the ripstick. Totally unrelated here, but I saw a TikTok about the ripstick yesterday because I don't snowboard, I ski, but apparently if you can learn how to ripstick, you can be a really good snowboarder. Because
Really?
It's all about the heel-toe, like weight balance. And even though your feet aren't locked in place, it's that
Yeah.
same motion. Then you just have to get used to doing it with your feet locked in place.
So I'm gonna come out the gate and just say I prefer the ripstick more. I like to cruise.
Interesting.
I like the style and the swag that kind of comes with the ripstick. Like back in the day, if you could crank one of those, dog, you were official. Like,
Yeah.
That's true.
No,
I used to go to the skate park and drop in on half pipes
That's
with
crazy.
the ripstick.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
you can't do
that's
that on the
awesome.
green machine. That's another thing. That's one downfall of the green machine because I had
But the
Brand-
green machine is tough though
Yeah,
because like you're getting that driving experience almost when you're a kid. So
Yeah, but you could. The thing about a green machine is like in terms of that. Like I used to have ramps that I would ride my bike on and stuff like that, and I would try to. You couldn't use it on the green machine because it's so low to the ground. You would just bottom out. So you really couldn't go uphill on the green machine.
Another thing
Had
about
to be
the
a
green
flat
machine
surface.
is like, aren't the tires plastic?
So the back tires are plastic. The front, so it's like I guess you could say like it's front wheel drive. Your pedals only pedal that front tire, and then the back tires just spin as you go. The reason that they're plastic though is so when you crank those levers, they just slide.
Right, right.
I fucking love the green machine, and I agree. Durable. I mean, this is a big debate.
So it's like, which one do you like more? Like so personally, I like the ripstick. I have core memories with the ripstick and the skateboard. My dad and I, we would go in a shitty like sun bleached fucking shit ass Mustang, and we would go to the Hamburg skate park right behind the police station before they closed. And we would take the skateboard, like the shitty Tony Hawk skateboard, and like the wheels on that suck. Like you can't go anywhere with that. So I would just crank the ripstick, and people were looking at me like, what is this kid doing? Like I was literally like almost grinding on the rail, and like I swear to God, I landed a kickflip on a ripstick one time. I'm no bullshit. Like my dad will co-sign that. Yeah, I was nasty on that shit. And like if I had like the money to get like a legitimate skateboard from Zoomies back then, like I probably would have been doing that. But
Yeah.
That's the thing about the ripsticks, though, that's going to benefit it in this fight is how versatile it is.
And
And it's really, I mean, that thing can
you can
obviously
maneuver
fucking-
on that
it-
thing.
so that
It's so agile.
And if you
you
think
know,
about a
it's-
skateboard, you're like picking it up
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you're going
yeah.
like this. And
The green
that's-
machine-
That's that's
It's
the
a tank,
thing about
but
it's a
it's
tank,
clunky.
but is it as quite? See, here's the thing though, it is pretty agile. Like you can cut on a dime.
That's a fact.
But does it have the same overall maneuverability as a ripstick? No. So
What's more fun to go downhill on? In your opinion, would you think?
Oh my god!
I mean, I've gone downhill.
I can't even imagine going downhill on a ripstick. Like
You just
a
ain't built
real
for
hill.
it, maybe.
Yeah,
I definitely.
I was gonna
can
say,
guarantee
I've gone
that.
downhill
I was barely
on-
built for the green machine.
Oh,
as a
shit.
child.
You weren't built for. You're a bad person to have this conversation with.
That's fair.
The green machine.
but I'm
I
unbiased.
I had so much fun with the green machine though. Here's the thing: at the end of the day, is it's the conversation of like, skill versus like physical attributes. Like, the green machine. I mean, it was physically built to withstand, like, like chemical warfare, like a nuclear bomb,
Sure.
right? Whereas the ripstick, was built to
Cruise around.
dodge the bomb on its way down.
Yeah, Right.
I guess you could
Right.
say. So, which one comes out on top? It's tough to say.
It depends.
I think
like,
if
do
the
you want
green-
the style
it-
or do you want the strength?
Yeah,
And,
I think if the green machine, because you're right. Like, the ripstick has a "you can't touch me" attitude.
I'll give you this, and this will be my final argument for the green machine versus ripstick debate. I've seen many green machines in my childhood, never seen one at college. UB, I've seen ripsticks literally everywhere. It's ripsticks, skateboards, scooters.
Yeah, the practicality aspect of the green machine might not be there.
Right, like you're gonna look very
yeah.
funky and very goofy, like ripping a green
Yeah, but
machine
it would be
class,
fun.
So funny though.
chaining it up. It would be hilarious. I might do it on a dare.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
really funny. Here's my closing argument: is I would if the green machine didn't have the crank levers with the plastic wheel, I would say you probably would have to take the ripstick. But because the green machine, because if it didn't have that,
It's a
the
tricycle.
turn radius on that, yeah, exactly. But because you can snap that thing around 180 in a heartbeat,
You can do a J turn, a full
Yeah.
ass J turn when you're 7, bro.
Yeah,
like
it's
people
unbelievable.
forget about that.
so that's why I think I have to take the green machine.
Okay, so you got one for ripstick, one for green machine.
I think I'm going ripstick because just the maneuverability of the ripstick. I think in a fight, it could pick the green machine apart.
Right. It's like that argument of who would win in why Floyd Mayweather is so good, right?
That's a good.
He's
The
not the
green
biggest
machine
dude.
can go backwards too, though. You can pedal that puppy backwards.
Bro, but on a ripstick, I
Okay.
can just lift the front wheel up and then do a full 180, do a leap style, and be on my way. Like,
It reminds me
Fair
of
enough. I'm not
the
gonna.
Flash versus I don't know, some not necessarily the Hulk, but some big
Yeah,
guy like
uh-huh.
that.
It's
the
like
Flash
this,
versus
Hulk.
you know
Yeah,
what I
that's
mean?
I'll compare it to this. Like,
just boom, boom, boom.
are you
going to
be the most blown out guy, or are you going to be the most stylish person available?
Sure.
Right?
Fair.
If you're going to
Or
be the stylish
skillful,
dude,
honestly, in
or
this
skillful, or whatever.
case, yeah.
Ripstick all day. But if not, go with the
So
green
we'll
machine.
lock that in 2
Lock
to
in the
1
ripstick.
for the ripstick.
Yeah.
Vote on that on Instagram on Friday. Who would win of the week?
Who would win of the week? Green machine versus ripstick.
So
I'm going ripstick, man.
listen, I had a green machine. I live and die by the green. I want a green machine. I will live and die by the green machine.
Green machine.
All right.
king.
You had a couple more things to say,
Yes.
though, you said, right?
Because we are going to wrap up here in a second. We've been going for a while, but a few things to say. One, I don't know if this is how you necessarily think of yourself, but you are an incredible, you are very, very smart. You are you are incredibly
Bro,
smart.
I'll tell you right now. So my GPA in college is a 2.2. I'm not very book smart and intelligent.
But when I hear you, I've said this before, I love, technology.
Mhm.
I think it's awesome in the way that it helps me live my life.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Mhm.
I don't understand it. And part of that is probably as much as I sit there and I'm like, man, I have no clue how this works. I don't have a burning desire to be like, okay, let's figure it out.
Right.
But that seems something that just is inherent in you. You talk from a music, from talking about music and understanding the way that music works, not just the way that people hear it, but the way that it works and how you can leverage that to affect the way it makes people feel. Talking about, different, job experiences you've had when it comes to technology, talking about, the algorithm conversation, when you're talking about how, you can kind of bring yourself on your own musical journey to help better it for other people by just understanding the way that these different music platforms, appeal to the people that are listening to them, and kind of you're using that to your advantage.
Yeah.
that to me is and especially when you tie it back into like the business aspect of things, is such like an you couldn't even place like how valuable that skill is, right?
Like Will.i.am said it himself, and this is the video that really did it for me. There's a video of like why kids should code or something. I forget what it's called, but like basically the whole point of it is like it's a promo for why they should teach, and I'm a huge proponent of this. Why they should teach computer science in middle school, high school. Teaches you how to think outside the box. That's the whole thing. Like the way I approach a problem is very different from how not even a DJ, but just like somebody else,
probably me,
for anything in that matter will approach a problem.
Yeah.
It's very like deconstructed.
Yep.
And it's very like, okay, here's how we get to the solution and like document it and make it not shit. That's what computer science teaches you, along with like how do you understand technology? Because software engineering is how do you solve a problem in computer science using software? Computer science was around before computers, right?
Yeah.
Tape machines, right? You just punching holes and shit. The word for a bug came about when a bug got on a piece of tape and fucked up someone's code and had undefined behavior, it's called. So, I think like people just, if they want to learn, like people should be hungry to learn. They should always want to learn stuff. I mean, I'm not by choice, but I mean, I'm still in school, right? Like I'm taking my time with it. I switched to a Bachelor of Arts because I wanted to become more well-rounded. I wanted to take like psychology and neurology courses, picking up a minor in music, and I'm just doing blockchain stuff nowadays. Getting mentored by director of the Blockchain Think Lab, Beena Ramamurthy. Like there's a lot of, like it's a whole new world this year for me. And that's what I'm the most excited for. Like, how can I get the music NFTs going? How can I get the music pumping? How can I get house like sick in Buffalo and so on? So people should be curious to learn. And, I don't really see myself like as a super intelligent guy. I'm actually like a very, I don't know, not basic, but it's just like, I don't know. My brain just goes pretty fast, and I try to just blurt out stuff. I try new things, and I'm open to other people's opinion. I take customer feedback well, and I think that's really like, I think that's the recipe for it all, right? Like that's that plus like perfect timing and a little bit of luck and like flawless execution. So it's going to take anyone anywhere. So not to say I'm like, I'm there and I've made it, right? I'm trying to keep myself grounded, but
you understand it.
I've done a lot of cool shit, man. I worked for a startup that went public in my city. Like, that's a lot. Like I worked at Walmart Labs and deployed an app to 1,500 people. I did cutting edge research for AR, VR stuff and data intensive distributed computing. Like there's a lot of cool things I've done that have given me like different experiences on stuff. And I've met a lot of amazing people that have just like humbled me over and over again. And like, so like, this gatekeeping and this like stupid DJ beef that I'm kind of experiencing right now. Like I'm just, whatever, man. Like I hope that person, whoever they are, if they got beef with me or whatever, like I hope they find God, because clearly like they need something that's just going to propel them into a different direction. And like when it comes down to like this whole thing of like being humble, since we're kind of on that talk, it's like being humble is something that's like trained. A kid from the west side of Buffalo who gets signed to like a record label, let's say like BSF picks someone up like who's from the gutter. Of course that kid's not going to be humble, bro. He's been hungry his whole life, like, and he's going to put everyone else on and just try to like elevate just everyone around him. He's going to be loud and like excited about it. So if you don't have someone to just constantly be like Joe, for example, Joe would be like, okay, that was cool, but I've done this, like constantly reassuring me like there's better shit out there to do and elevate yourself. So I try not to get too in my head when like an artist is like, yo, will you hop on this official remix? Or like, yo, we want you to open for this person in this location, right? Stuff like that's happening.
Yeah.
I try not to just, because there's cooler shit out there. I haven't played in Ibiza yet. I haven't played at Space yet. I haven't played at fucking Nova SD. Those are huge clubs that are prominent for that kind of music. And they're well known for just like having the best people there. So until I get to that point, I'm going to try and be a little quiet and just keep doing me, keep pushing the sound forward. And, hopefully, God will keep blessing me, bro. Like, honestly, that's how I see it. So
It's been a real trip talking to you, dude.
Thanks, dude.
I'm very glad that you came on this show.
Yeah, of course.
This is one of those episodes that I am actually going to like, because I re-listen to them to edit and stuff.
Yeah,
but, like,
yeah.
I hate hearing my voice and things
Right.
like that.
I felt like I kind of talked a little too much, but
No, you did not.
I was gonna say it. Like,
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I also think hearing, like, because I was sitting here. I mean, we're living it, right? So it's a little different than listening to it, but listening to the way, because I've said it a million times. This is actually a T-shirt that we should sell. Like, I don't really listen to that much music. Like, I don't. And it's not because I don't like it. It's just, honestly, I listen to a lot of podcasts. Like,
Yeah.
That kind of
that's
took
that's
over.
your thing, right?
Yeah.
It's your craft.
But listening to you talk about music and like the things that you've done in your life and stuff like that is so different than kind of anybody else that we've had. And it's been all good, right? We've had so many talented people in here and talk about their passion for music and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like hearing the way that you understand it, I think it's just it's an awesome thing to be able to hear, and I think that people listening will appreciate like hearing that, especially if they're in a position of me, of somebody who doesn't put a lot of thought into how why exactly things are the way they are, and how music, and especially like that. I don't know. I thought it was awesome listening to you, man. And I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, bro.
I know
anytime you guys want me, like I can bring other
for
DJs
sure.
that can speak on the sound too. I'm pretty well connected in that area. So
before we get out of here, I know we brought it up twice, but
Sure.
one more time, give people that are going to listen to this and want to hear what you have to offer, let them know where they can hear you play live, where they can hear you play if they're sitting at home.
Right. So the best place to find me as of now is on Instagram. If you go to my Instagram, there's going to be this thing called the link tree. If you click the link tree, it'll have everything that we talked about, all the mixes, all the mashups, all the reels, places you can find me on YouTube and so on. My Instagram handle is my DJ name plus the word DJ. So DJ Gradient. Gradient as in color gradient, gradient descent, linear gradient, musical gradient between transitions, whatever you want, like a change in magnitude over time. That's, has a flow, basically, is why I chose that name. Also in mathematics, and I learned about this in school in my AI class, artificial intelligence, is that linear gradient and gradient descents are everywhere. And gradient descent is like a mathematical formula that basically, I'm not going to explain it because Wikipedia and Google will do a better job, and I think people should really do their own discovery on why I chose my name. I even say it in the first mix that I made called Gradient Descent. It's in the description with the track list and everything. But yeah, DJ Gradient, DJ Gradient on Instagram. That's where you can find me. I'm trying to post pretty frequently, so still testing the water between what's overbearing and what's not enough. So it's a discovery phase for me, but if you want to be along for the journey, man, then I'm there. So
And you should want to be listening to this.
Yeah.
But thank you, man. All right.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up. Let's get out of here.
All right.
Yeah.
We
appreciate it. Good luck tonight. I know this will be coming out after you already played, but kill it tonight. Andy, I love you.
I love you
Thank
too,
you.
Tim.
I love you
Let's
boys
get
too,
out of
man. It's been great.